Crazy.
All right, are you going to support this question of privilege by Mr. Warren?
We're going to give it a look, and I indicated that this morning. There's, on the rules themselves in the House of Commons as to whether the Speaker can intervene and whether it is actually and technically a question of privilege is one debate. Obviously, within the Conservative caucus right now, there's some tensions that are coming to the surface, particularly with respect to members being able to speak freely or on certain topics. Obviously, the government, the Prime Minister has said repeatedly he doesn't want to talk about abortion, but we keep seeming to talk about abortion. So in terms of Mr. Warwa's particular case, we'll look at the merits, just in terms of the rules of the House and whether he has a case, and come back probably tomorrow to the House with something more official.
Some people might argue that you're sort of delaying so you can think about whether you guys want to
No, it's an interesting question he's raised, actually, and it's not one. There's a difference between what are called the standing orders that are implicit rules that guide how members of Parliament act, and the conventions of the House of Commons. What he is contesting that is there is an explicit rule that says the Speaker must be the one in the sole authority to identify members. Yet the convention has been that the parties put forward, particularly on these statements, different members each day based on whatever that party's convention is. And in terms of the NDP, we have a rotation of members. It just works through a calendar, and when members are up, they make their statements, and it's not proven a problem for us. Obviously, there's some challenges within the Conservative caucus right now, but that's for them to talk about.
Are you saying that you don't vet?
Do you vet the statements?
No.
So anybody could ask any question. Somebody could stand up and maybe put an SO31 defending anti-abortion.
I had to follow the double, maybe triple negative on abortion, which is a dangerous question. No, we don't vet the statements.
Does anyone see them in the House Leader's office, the Whip's office, the Leader's office? Does anyone see the statements?
No, sometimes the very last statement we give in question period, we work with the MP on from time to time. The other statements, when you hear them, is when I hear them. We don't have that conversation. Obviously, in the Conservative caucus, they have that conversation quite a bit, and they are having a hard time controlling that conversation right now. And there's obvious frustration building within certainly the backbench of the Conservatives. They're talking about punishments and being taken away from certain committees or chairmanships or chairpersonships. But again, that's for them to answer. That's not for me, and it's not the way we do things. Well, I was very curious this morning to see how many Conservative MPs were supportive of Mr. Warwa, and I know there's more. We have been hearing a growing frustration just in the back corridors of Parliament from Conservative MPs about the controlling nature of the PMO, and that there's maybe a list and a growing list of taboo topics that the Prime Minister doesn't want raised. What Mr. Warwa is challenging is the tension between the Conservative Party and the Prime Minister's office and Mr. Harper's particular leadership style and his desire to get up and speak on certain issues that he feels are important to raise.
Can I ask, just in committee, if I understand this correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but originally the NDP voted against this being a votable motion, right?
Right.
And the
Conservatives
sided with the NDP and the Liberals.
I wasn't at the meeting, so I've only heard it secondhand, but what I understand is I believe the Liberals or Conservatives made a case as to why the bill shouldn't be heard, and then we voted in favor of that rationale.
So I guess my question would be that if you want to sort of expose this hidden agenda or whatever, why not actually just let this conversation happen? Why not let these things? Why would you ever oppose?
I don't know how hidden this agenda is. That the Prime Minister continues to say he doesn't want to talk about abortion. That the issue is, in his words, closed, and yet here we are, week after week, it seems,
my point is that
talking about abortion.
This as well.
No, well, the merits of a motion coming before the House is a different question as to whether certain issues are talked about. Whether certain motions just can't get debated because they're out of the rules that guide us. That's what was being debated here at that committee. The way the analysts work with all committees is they provide some advice, and committees have lots and lots of debate about whether the analyst has one side or the other. Often we get an analyst report that sits on both sides of the same issue. This is one where the committee obviously felt that again, forgive me, I can't remember who made the actual case, whether it was a Conservative or Liberal member, but that the issue had been raised and that the issue had infringed upon provincial jurisdiction was one that we agreed with. Thanks. Got to go to House Leaders.